Yeah, good evening. Yeah, cold.
I'm okay.
No, it's cold.
No, I'm fine.
It's not cold. Yeah. So, are you new today? You will not be read. Or you're the first time coming in? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. My memory is better. Oh, God. Long. Anyway, good to welcome back. It's just new today. Guy. My neighbors. Anyway, therefore, you all have some information, idea for Buddhism. The first we start talking, we're going to learn meditation, okay? And, we did before class, we do, concentration, like meditation. Like today's class, we're going to, wisdom. Therefore, wisdom's most, analytical meditation. No, yeah, analytical meditation. Therefore, today, first we do a lot of concentration to meditation. Before that, also we do like breathing meditation, because this is a technique. They just naturally, you watch your own breath and in and out. You just focus that. It brings to you whole mind like come back. Like the cows like salt, right? Through the salt, all the cows come back. This is hard to Tibetan nomads keep the cows in place. We give little salt, same time, all cows come back. Like that, and breathing meditation is also one of the technique to hold our conscious coming back to the with our body. Let's say therefore first just sit very comfortable, whatever you like. After that, watch your own breath. Just breathe normally. You don't need to any special. Just watch, breathe in and out. Your mind focus on awareness that, okay? Now, secondly, visualization in front of you as before we did, as Buddha's image. Or you don't familiarize that, you can, any object, keep your mind on that at the moment. If we already before come to here, if you know, as the Buddha image in front of you, you keep your mind at that strong and focus as much as you can. If you visualize the Buddha image, you feel that some blessings come from Buddha's heart, dissolve to your body, you feel peace and relax and calm. Tendriki susu miksa ge ane sanji ge ko teta, tela tene shungi ane susu lisamla shungi dewa teyang, ane susu samana ji nawana ji yomare sam te shos.
The Buddha that you have visualized and oneself who's visualizing doesn't exist like we think. Try to think like that for a little while.
Rite samana ji mepe jinzayang, jedang, jendang, chajala tene chapare sam te sam shos.
The reason why things do not exist in a way you think is because they are all depending on cause and conditions.
oya ta tela ane tendela tenne tomanyo kumse koko res tenda oshi.
So that's meditating on emptiness by depending on dependent rising.
tuji tandanga so ta tuji gomjab ane su ta niba itonga res.
So if you keep on meditating like that for some time, again and again, and then you will see the effect.
ngombollo to ane kanji tenju mai bi chunga yo mama ene was. Teishir tongwa mai bi chunga yo mares.
So that's why Nagarjuna said there isn't any phenomena, anything that is not dependent rising, and therefore there isn't anything that is not empty.
다마제 칸라 돈이 물어와대 내가 답주를 많이 했어. 칸라 돈이 rumwa들 차단 되게 돼서 어땠어. 이번 나타나 되는 거죠.
And then in the second, the following line, he said, to anything that the emptiness can be applied will exist. So anything that emptiness cannot be applied will not exist.
제자 아니 이마와 셔라마와단 또다와 당 오마라제바니 체원고 가려오는 또 가와지니 오나 아니 지 라지 마트바이나 아니 지 레전드 라서반 조션도 가지 남자 근데 되게 말해야 돼 아니 이마가 더지 라지 트바이나 디나전 되게 말해서 오마겠다 와 거기 치워드려요.
So there is the difference between the Savatandika Madhyamika and Prasangika Madhyamika. So although they both are same being the Madhyamika, but there's difference in them, is that one asserts inherent existence and the other does not assert inherent existence. So the Savatandika Madhyamika says if it doesn't exist inherently, then it will not it cannot be applied as existence, or in other words, it will not perform the functions. And then the Prasangika Madhyamika says if it exists inherently, then it cannot be applied as existence, or in other words, it will not perform the function.
안도 단다 안에 수수 썸노 따다 나도 간가 셔라마와 도도니 성따더라. 에나지 난고 난게요래. 누가나 왔다 가서 여름에 내서마 통데 다른 거 여름에 맨날 아주 받은 거야 당하지 게시에 되는 요 말이 삼거래. 나도 대한에 삼거다.
So the normal people like ourselves, the way we think, how things exist, it's just like how they appear to us, right? Yeah, so if they don't appear to us, then they don't exist. The way they exist is the way they appear to us. And so how they appear to us is from his one side. Exist from his one side.
나도 저래.それ나지 저거 어디 저거 말한 거 라라 그래서 나. 나한테 가라 나. 디 나와 나지 열에 삼는 더 되겠다. 야, 레버스 말라 그래. 가고 말라 그래.
And so because we have, right? So we have some intellectual knowledge about it. Therefore, we might say, oh, things do not exist from their one side. But that's how their things appear to us. The things appear to us as exist from their one side, and we are also apprehending or clinging into the things as they exist from their one side.
네, 신도도 저 갈려나 배나 숙다버때 이게 따사가 따지고 숙코랑 강 요와 타라 숙그레스 그런 뭐 적그레스 대다 숙다 숙다 제신이 진이 동화를 현대 저발 주제레스 다데레스
And
샘섬마다기는 어때 말에 그게나 대대 다절 맞도 숙코랑 말레스 아니 숙다 대신 동화를 군이 쳐가 되죠.
And then so the Vaibhashika school will say how the things appear to us is how they are. Like say, for example, a form, like a book, that appears to you. So the book, that very book that appears to you is the book itself. And so the mind which is apprehending the book and the book itself are totally different things. So they are of different, they call it different substances. It's like mind which seeing the book is mind, and book itself is a book. That nothing to do with that. Whereas the mind-only school, says everything is in the nature of the mind, and it says no, it's not just the book comes into existence from the eye consciousness that apprehends the book like that. So therefore, they are empty of different substances.
제가 대추지다면 참으로 했으라고 해요. 근데 그 주다 주다 받다지 동한테.
And so the form and the form apprehending consciousness being the empty of different substances, is the subtle selflessness of phenomena according to the mind only school.
안도 시골 바다나 피기나 샤이도 수술해야 돼. 내문에 되래. 샘들한테 피기 샤대와 되래 말이야. 내 말에서 내 피기 샤게고 샤와 되래서 그런데 도시고. 샘들 된다고시.
So like when you are looking at the mirror, right? So you see the reflection of your face. And which is your face? Is it the reflection of your face in the mirror is your face, or this, the face is your face? So like mind only school is saying, no, this is not the face. It is that, it's the reflection in the mirror that appears to you is the face.
제가 대나네 안에 주다 맞듯이 동안다. 주랑 스톱이 시작한 것도 이런 동안다. 주집에 단집이 이런 또 개시당 마시도 되나 집어래. 주집에 단집이 이런 또 제름 뭐지가 투모 많이 배시해서 근데 강제 신대 손제에서 되는 거예요.
And so that's like the form, being different, from the consciousness apprehending the form, and like so the sound of the form as called as a form, is a different, from the form itself, like that. So this is again the way Lama Tsongkhapa explains. So that's why he's like the pioneer of the land of snow. They call it pioneer of the land of snow because he taught or said in different way like that.
간단히 제라모원 도대반이 주다원 주드비겐 다지 코랑원이 그래. 다지 나대와 그런 이 다지 때에 샘좀 비게도 말이야. 비게 꼭 다지를 마다 수치는 말했어. 수드는 10회간에 반 나게 나와야 자고 그랬어. 된다 나도 로엘을 참 마셔 간지 되는 거.
So Vaibhashika and Saudika will say the form is the object itself is the form, whereas the mind only school says no, the object itself is just the basis of the form. So the form is what appears to the eye consciousness. It's the form. It's not the form itself. Form itself is just the basis of the form, and the object itself is just the basis of the form. The real form is which appears to the eye consciousness.
얘도 이제 안개 제와지 안개 tro시 삼나 누치 안개 tro는 게 삼나 안개 tro로 와. 저도 나 그래 잘 오르. 안개 도봐. 안개 tro이 여러 셰프시.
The dance was in Chibona, another.
쇼치는 거가 저대 지내 제절로.
야라나 뭐고 제 마냐나.
제가 그 따당 거네 그런 예 그런 거는 대 강아 집어 놓고 이래. 대 수수 는 봐요 거 따라야. 잘로 그 전에 는 봤다더니 는 봤다고 봤다. 됐으면 배샤 그래.
구차도났다.
구차와대 두샤와대 수수 따당샤. 그런 거네 요 말이야.
So from the way you look at like number 6, and number 9, so if you look from here, it'll look like a 6, but if you look from there, it'll look like a 9. Yeah. So it's so if it is the 6 by itself, then whether you look it or I look it, it should see 6. But the reason that I see 6 and you see 9 from there is because of your mind and my mind, right? Because I'm looking at it, and from my mind it sees. With my eye consciousness, I see it as a 6, and then with your consciousness, you see it as a 9. So 9 for you is because of your eye consciousness, and the 6 for me is because of my eye consciousness. It's not, by the object itself. If it's from the object itself, then we both should see it in the same way.
Okay, now let's stop here. Okay, more covered. 다데나 가도 가장에 비니 차원에 비니 dembi chita등에 비니 dembi tra등에 비니 사실 와.
And so now we go to our text. Last time we talked about the 4 essential points, right? So there's the essence, the essential point of ascertaining the object of negation and ascertaining the the possibilities, and ascertaining is empty of being one or empty of being many or different.
가장에 비니 가장은 갈라고 그랬다.
So when we talk about the object of negation or refutation, what is the object to be refuted?
단단 네 갈라 가는 단데 탄지 투모만 비셔야 돼. 탄지 별로 시작이 그래.
And so this is again, this is in this text here, it's going according to the Prasangika Madhyamika's view.
다 정도 지가 가장 무슨 돼야지. 수임 봐.
So can any of you identify the object of negation.
뭐 가자를 가세요. 스티치트네요. 가자를 가세요. 무슨 가자를 가세요.
So how many kinds of object of negation are there?
Just for Pabongka school or?
야, 단지불라.
Yes, according to Pabongka school. How many object of negation? How many kinds of object of negations are there?
Okay. For you? For you guys? Anyone have? No idea? Do you have any idea? Okay. 뭐 가자는 칼라. 뭐 가자는 칼라. Okay, Rika? 2. Good. 진짜 가자는 칼라.
What is object of negation? What's the meaning of object of negation?
Object that appears that you have to negate to realize emptiness.
근데 가니진 것은 뭐지? 선배야.
So how do you identify that? How will you identify that?
Anyone have any idea? Yes. You guys have? Not yet. Okay, Rika, can you say?
To abandon, to refute, abandon, eliminate, eradicate is the object of negation.
하고 말해. 가자하고 그래. 가자는 가자는 무슨 그래. 가자는 가리가고 그랬어. 하고 그랬어.
So you have to identify it, right? No, you don't have to abandon it. You have to identify the object of negation.
Okay.
You have to see it as it really is.
Okay. What? Give me an example.
You need to just realize that it doesn't inherently exist from its own side.
What's the example?
Any object you can imagine, you see something and you just don't get fooled by thinking that it exists from its own side.
The thing you think that is there,
Yeah.
that is not there.
Yeah, and you just see it as that it's a dependent arising on causes and
Never
conditions. So you try to see it as it really
Okay,
exists.
that's good. That's good.
So it doesn't exist.
It exists, but it's not that it doesn't exist, because that's the extreme of nihilism. But you see it as it's a dependent origination.
So you're different from what Jen said. She's saying it doesn't exist, but it appears as exist, right? But you're saying it does exist.
But it's not whether it exists or not. I mean, this is my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not whether it exists or not. It's how it exists. If you think it exists from its own side as like something solid, self-existent, this is a mistake. But if you see that it's a dependent it's a dependent arising, I think this is more accurate. So it's trying to see it as reality.
Okay, come close, please.
What do you think? Am I wrong?
The question was, what's the object of negation?
Yeah.
The object of negation.
Okay, Rika said 2. Okay, first Jennifer said 1. Okay, give me 1.
It's true existence.
Okay, Rika said 2. What the 2?
One is the inherent existence of phenomena in person, and the other is 2 obscurations.
첫 함제 랑싱 두바 되다 안에 가서 디버니서.
Not like that.
2 obscurations.
One is the inherent existence of person and phenomena.
Got it.
And then other one is?
Other one is 2 obscurations.
Yeah, 디버니서.
What the Devani?
What are the 2 obscurations?
One is afflicted and one is cognitive.
Okay. actually 네. 내 데바트 바디 가자래. 가자니 세드 찬스 오늘에. 나 산지 나오는 때에서 만나고 온 거래. 담번 하고 와라. 네가 가자 무슨 말 가자니 어스.
So that's the 2 obscurations are not the object of negation here. But anyway, the 2 is correct, but the 2 that you gave is not correct. So anyway, yeah, there are 2 objects of negation.
앞에 내가 대라 이치 가자다 이치 가자. 타니데 가와나 용도 그래. 일지 가자다 이치 가자스.
So this maybe you might see different in the Lamrim text later, but anyway, so we talk about the objective in the object of negation and the subjective object of negation. So
일지 가자다 타는 제너플 라이트는 내 덴바트 바데 데다 페네 내 덴바트 바데
And so this the singing bowl that's existing, truly, is the objective object of negation. And grasping at the object, as existing from its one side or as existing truly, is the subjective object of negation. So there are two, like objective and subjective negation. And so here he's talking about the point, of ascertaining or understanding the object of negation. So that's what we're talking about here. So truly existing means like existing, from its one side, without depending, on cause and conditions and so forth, right? So if it exists like that, then it exists truly.
Okay.
So the object of negation, the objective negation is necessarily non-existence. And but the subjective negation is necessarily existence. Because it has to be what? Consciousness, right? Because it has to be consciousness. If it's a consciousness, then it exists. Consciousness.
Okay.
So, so there is a grasping at the I or the self or the I as existing from its own side without depending on anything solid by itself, vivid and solid by itself without depending on anything. So that kind of I, that kind of appearance of the I comes or manifests at a time like when you're very afraid, like you're very afraid, and then, oh, I'm afraid like that. Or when you're very excited or very happy. I said, oh, I'm so happy. Like at that time, that's the I that you feel like I'm very happy. That I appears to exist, without depending on anything else by itself. And that's the same when you are very afraid, or when you're very happy. So that I is the one that you have to recognize. So when you identify that, then that's identifying or ascertaining the object of negation. So if there is something that exists without dependent on cause and conditions and parts and so forth, from its one side, then it's existing truly. And so if such thing happens, if such thing exists, if there's such thing that exists without depending on cause and conditions, parts and so forth, then it cannot be negated, right? It cannot be negated because it's existing. So when you look for yourself, right? If you keep on searching for yourself, you'll never find yourself. Right? You will not find. I will not find me. Which is me, right? Not my head, not my body, not my hand, not my leg, nothing. None of these things is me, right? But do I not exist at all? I do exist, right? So how do I exist? I exist by depending, on cause and condition, by depending on the body, by depending on the feeling, the thoughts that I have, by depending on the people who named me as so and so. All this, by depending on all these things, I exist. So I exist by depending on all these things, but I do not exist from its own side or by itself. And you will not find I when you search for it. So now we're going to do meditation, and you're going to look for yourself, or you'll think about yourself.
Okay.
Don't look for yourself, but think about yourself.
Everything you are, your name also. I'm the John. I'm Jennifer. I'm Mark. I'm Howard. I'm the everyone. You can say. Just think. Okay. How I identify myself. The so. Somebody does. You're was. You're not the candidate.
So think about yourself. So I'm called Tamcho. So where's Tamcho? Tamcho does exist, but which is Tamcho? Yeah. So you think about that. So whatever you are. So think about yourself, and then think which is you.
Okay. This serious meditation. Okay. Everyone just takes serious. Usually we don't really think. Oh, I'm happy. I'm going. I'm driving. I'm eating. But we don't really recognize how I am exist. Okay. Now try to identify yourself. Okay. This is like 5 minutes meditation. Okay. And this was going to come up with this.
You have to first search for yourself, all the way from top of your head to the bottom of your toe.
Oh, yeah. So that's why. Do you find? You point yourself here, in one point. Can you point? Where are you? Here? What do you think? Here or here? What do you guys think? 도우chen. 가자 내가나 수수 제가 수도인 건데 접바 이 하고는 접바 이거 하고 되는 건데 다 가자 내가 가자들이 연한들이 요거 그래서 가자세.
So if you find yourself, right, existing from its own side, without depending anything like cause and conditions, parts, and so forth, then that's the object of negation. Then you have found the object of negation. If you see yourself like that.
You find? 다 도선다. 근데 문도 파지. 찾아다 보면 예 문도 삼발라. 아니
So when you find that you can't be found searching in that way, then you will come to understand, the dependent arising, how it exists or how it arises by depending on other things.
다 차방했나? 예와 옛나? 예나? 내가 맞추기 작은도, 내가 맞추고 그건도 우세 방해노, 내가 그래. 예나?
Then the and then the second one, is called the essential point of the ascertaining the perversion. If like perversion means like if it exists, then it has to exist as being empty of true existence. Because first point, is the understanding the true existence, right? Truly existing I, the truly existing object. And because there's no truly existing object, therefore, if it is an object or if it exists, then it is necessarily existing as lack of true existence or empty of true existence. So that's the second point. It's a provision or the possibility. So the possibility is that it has to be lack of true existence. If it exists because there's no true existing, therefore it has to be lack of true existence. And as long as it is dependent rising, dependent origination, then it is necessary, to be not existing truly. And then comes the third and the fourth point. So because there's no truly existing, then therefore there's no truly existing as one, or there's no truly existing as many.
Okay.
And if it exists truly, then it has to exist without depending on cause and conditions, parts, and so forth, right? From its one side, and without making any changes to the object. So just like, when we talked about number 9 and 6, right? So it has to say, without making any modifications, you have to see the same, in the same way. And so now this you have to change your idea or your thought about the things now, right? So once you have achieved calm abiding, the full concentration, now you have to use that concentration, not just sitting there peacefully without thinking anything, but you have to use it, to analyze about the special insight. And so so usually, you can, once you have a calm abiding, then you can use that concentration, to overcome the delusions, that's like the worldly, you can use it, to achieve special insight, the worldly special insight, or mundane special insight, or super mundane special insight. The mundane, the special insight only can overcome manifesting, like the gross delusions. But in order to achieve liberation or to overcome the subtle delusions, then you have to train in the super mundane special insight. And so there's, like it says in the text, you see this image, and so you see the outline where it says how to develop the absorption resembling space, and then the the four essential points, and then after that talks about so after that, so then it says after achieving very stable mental questions, we do not meditate on things like a special insight found in worldly path to the gross mental peace of the form and formless realm. This will only suppress manifest delusions. The thing we most yearn for is liberation, so we must develop the supramundane type of special insight that analyzes the meaning of selflessness.
제가 대여기 도와야나 아니 고민이 좀 먹어봐야 만하나 그걸 또 그래서
And so that, the supramundane type of special insight that analyzes the meaning of selfless will sever the root of psychic existence. And then there's the quote, from this the text called "The Praise to the Praiseworthy." So all the people who follow your doctrine do not gain the actual dhyana things. They prevent their rebirth existence, while Mara looks on helplessly. And so it says the prevent the rebirth in existence means like in cycle existence, like in samsara. And thus we must ascertain what is meant by the profound emptiness. It says if we gain no realization into it, it is quite impossible to gain liberation. So that means like if you don't realize emptiness, then there's no way you can achieve liberation. Then it says, and even the other tasks of a child of victorious ones, like the other, the practices of the bodhisattvas, like the practice of the generosity, morality, the effort, and so forth. If of bodhicitta and so forth, if you are lacking this understanding of emptiness, then those will not, by those, you will not be able to achieve liberation. And it says if you have only part of combination of method and wisdom, you will not be able to travel to the state of victorious ones. So it's like you need 2 wings to fly. If you have only one, then if you have only one of either method of wisdom, then it's like a bird with 1 wing will not be able to fly. And then that's what it says. This the method is bodhicitta, and the wisdom is the realization of emptiness. You must not train in one without the other, just as Geshe said. If you do not have the wisdom that understands the way things exist, and you cannot eradicate the root of cyclic existence, despite your acquaintance with the renunciation and bodhicitta. Thus, work hard at the means to realize interdependence. And 대마다 야 시당가 안 돈이라 된지도 돈이도 요사리 선배 대선 사발이야. 근데 당저가 고소 그러면 제가 다니 간에 세라게 메도야고 전에는 세라 잡아나 그거 좀 더 된다고 치버려스. 근데 얘다 아니 시잡에 엄마 시잡아 통서로. 근데 그래 돼. 아네 말해. 아네 그러. 근데 손음 중문도 따뜻해 태좀 여사가 말해서 And then it says, although while still tending to believe in emptiness, you may have some doubt. They say emptiness will tear to shreds. You are grasping at a self. It is like a hailstorm flattering crops. So even if you have a doubt towards emptiness, let alone realizing that, even if you have a doubt, saying, oh, maybe it's like this and maybe like that. Even if you have that kind of doubt, then that will tear or subside the grasping at the true existence also. And so it's just like a hailstorm planting the crops. And then there's a verse from the 400 verses, I think it's from Ayadeva. Yeah. And even those with the few merits have no doubts about this Dharma, even those who still have their doubts will tear existence to tatters. So that means like the doubts in the emptiness will tear the existence, and means like the samsara to tatters.
Okay. Any questions about that? And then the shed na ko duat ke bido. Kaji ne tan dina didi mo jomare. Di tek lamram chimbo yimba na. Pije wo yore.
So any questions so far? Because there's just keep talking. There's a lot to talk about, and this is actually the short explanation. The great exposition of the path enlightenment by Lama Tsongkhapa explains even in more lengthy details.
아니 동반에 빼나 쇼주 셔를 레고 그런 거 왔다. 아니 따와 셔를 세워다 오만 죽바사다. 단도 차가 동반에 고탄 셔를 그래.
And then there's another text like the Guide to the Buddhist Way of Life, the 9th chapter. The whole chapter talks about emptiness. And then there's a Fundamental Wisdom by Nagarjuna. And then the other Madhyamika text, all these things, and all they talk about is emptiness.
Okay. 아마도 따겠다. 내 대마 저그래 왜? 내 대마 저그래 왜 하는 줄 내가 야.
So now we're going to have the syllogism. So it's let's say.
Andrew has a question.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I was wondering, right, so, like thinking about the heart searcher, emptiness is form and form is emptiness. Does it mean like our forms? Is the problem with believing in forms is that they're finite, they're just an idea of reality. We take forms to be permanent, but forms are ever changing. And in regards to like dependent arising, is everything like actually like infinite because it could take on infinite, like all phenomena can take on infinite amount of forms, but our problem is that we only perceive it as like a finite or one form or one type of like concrete idea.
So what's the question, sorry?
My question is the problem of like emptiness, like are we being too like when we're saying like, oh, this is a book, we only think of it as a book. We do not think of it as being anything other than a book. Like we are objectifying it and say that form is permanent when it was something else beforehand and will be something else after, and its form is already changing.
Got it. I think people.
So you're saying that form. So like the book, when you see the book, you see only the book, but you don't see anything else with that, and it's just not changing. It's always prominent or something.
What I'm saying is that the delusion. I'm saying is that the delusion is that we think of like these forms as being permanent when they're really always changing.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So if you think the form which is impermanent in reality, but if you think that form and as a permanent, then that's a delusion, yes.
간단한도로 변한 수수고 켈레 이노 수수고 따와 수수 삼들라 비 차바 슈치 보이다 와. 되게 따와 요서다 다데 요나 간도 되게 다데 연구 하고 말.
So
dentist 연구.
So even like our ideas, the view that we have or ideas that we have or opinions, like we say, oh, it's like this, it has to be like this, and we have views, right? And when somebody don't get along with that, go along with that, then we get angry, right, and so forth. So that all comes from the ignorance. But when we think about it, we don't realize that it comes from ignorance.
제가는 간도 변한 두절라 옆에는 나서 참고들이 여와이나. 나까지 캐스캔다 MRI는 통금이다. 대도 직발 만도된다. 유모도 가서 깨지고 가서 통고요 말. 갖고 오요 말.
So it's like if you have a serious illness or disease in your body which you can't see from outside, and you need to do a CAT scanning or MRI to see it, like so it's like that. So right now we don't see these negative things coming in us. We don't see that as a result of ignorance.
저도 제가 또만 얘기지. 된다 지고 가려나 되겠다. 나도 대마도 말아 왔대. 락하글 랍시던 것도 되는 것도 아니 내신이도 말. 매와인다. 그때 내신이와 체다 아니 딱 갈래 못 잡고요.
So in order to overcome that ignorance, then you have to come to understand the emptiness or the lack of true existence. And so we might say, oh yeah, it is right. That's just true, lack of true existence. So what? But we don't have that ascertainment. We don't have that realization. So we have to, we don't realize that. Then therefore we keep on thinking in that way. And so we have to work really hard to come to understand that.
오케이, 답답한 지나서 때만 수수 지나서 새 수수 저도 지내서 오네.
So just now you did a meditation on yourself, right? Searching for yourself. Were you able to find yourself?
You want? You exist, right? Someone said, are you exist? What you say? Yes, I am right. And how you say? What do you answer?
yours.
I label.
바카로 근접을 가지. 도배 따서. 여러 was. 로로 was. 칼사그로 뭐라는 거로 was.
But you exist, right? You exist. You.
Not inherently, but I exist.
헬렌스도 좀 로도 그 멍토에도 라바 뭐라다가도 에너지랜도.
Yeah, inherently, because you eat, you drive, you walk.
Not inherently.
And 헬렌도 그래고 헬렌.
So what should it be if it's inherently?
That would be without cause or condition.
Without parts and subdivisions.
대문도 안 대가서 내가 가르쳐 듣고.
Unitary,
대문도 왔다. 대문도 와.
unchangeable.
제가 마찬가지 문도 문도 가도 대 요마스 가지 두자 시도.
But there isn't that doesn't exist, right? So that the things that do not exist, things that do not depend on the cause and conditions of parts doesn't exist, right?
내가 또 대 요마스 가지 두자 돼.
So why you are forcing yourself to think that it doesn't exist?
It depends on what side you.
It doesn't exist. So why you have to
Well,
think?
that's like saying dependent arising doesn't exist.
대는 여러.
No, we're not saying that dependent arise doesn't exist. It does exist.
Right.
얘는 다 대마토 요마스 가지.
Well, I'm dependent arising.
But truly existence doesn't exist, right? Truly existing doesn't exist, right?
대는 가서 쭉 전에 요마스 가지 시야 돼.
But why it doesn't exist? So why you have to say it doesn't exist?
Because we believe it exists. Because we live in that, so you have to have some basis.
The causes of
That's good.
illusion.
Yeah. That's good. Your mother 가서 여러 삼거 business.
저도 요래도 저도 요래 말 나가러 왔어.
But you say it doesn't exist, right?
But it appears to exist and we believe the appearance.
Number two, yours. Number two, then no, then yours.
Yeah, okay, good. Yes.
Because of our karma and delusions, we think things exist. So we don't see reality as it exists. So we're deluded.
레드 요마 되네.
내가 좀만 당가도 매버도 여반을 통과했어.
대 돈을 가야 되네. 이게 가는 거다.
So what happens if you see it as existence, even though it doesn't exist? What happens?
What's wrong?
What's wrong with that?
No, we need to find 디는 건데 내가 하고 얼마씩 내가 맞다. 같이 두자요스. 룸들이 파모다. 내가 하마고나 너 게임도 샤도로.
So why do you have to see that, right? Why do you have to see that?
Because
You have to understand the significance or the meaning or the reason for that, right? Otherwise, you keep saying, "Oh, it doesn't exist," but so what?
grasp onto it as if it existed truly. And then we become very upset when we find out it doesn't, that there's, when it changes.
So, 아마도 데버도가 3개월에서
Yeah.
아니 데버도는 증거라서 아니 then 데버도 또 매번 하고도 되는 것도 되는 배 3주 차이 걸었어요.
제가 장보제 제가 데바타버리 세상이야. 지금 상황에 말. 제가 장보제 생 데바타버리 세상이요.
So who thinks things exist truly? Any of you who thinks be honest, because
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
you think
Really?
you think things exist truly?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I mean, I believe that they do, but of course, like, yeah, because of.
나요. 나나 가는 나 그러와. 나는 잡는 한 거래. 뭐가 데바타 레디 좀 삼요야. Yes,
So
you
did
did.
you ever think, oh, this is existing truly?
No, it's just the way, yeah.
You think?
It's an innate.
Yeah, it may appear as exists truly, but
Yeah.
do you really think this is existing truly?
Yes.
Not sure I want to answer your
Yeah.
question, when you said why should we, try to parse these things out, because in my mind, real simple is if we don't see reality as it is, the real, it'll cause us to suffer. We will become too attached. We'll make mistakes.
Echana nichana try that. We all caution. Okay, I think this is a little bit more clear. I just talk the book doesn't clear. And 저런 게 최대지 데바타버리 상군도 왜?
So do you think all phenomena exist truly?
Do I think?
Think.
Yes, no, okay.
Do I think all phenomena? I probably, intellectually, I know they do not. I know they do not. But I don't see things as they are because of karma and delusions. But intellectually, I know things don't exist truly.
저런 거 데마마토 하고도 와.
So you realize, you understand that things do not exist truly.
Correct.
Okay.
But it's only contrived understanding.
하고 데마마토 하고도 와.
So you understand.
나 저 너무 책임해.
But don't you make mistakes?
You make a lot of mistakes. Are you kidding me?
지금 의인에서 하고도. 지나다 내가 의인에서 하고 있어 농수 책을 없어. 그 의인에서 하고 있는 노용 말이야.
So because you say, you make a mistake because of not understanding the reality, right? Or not understanding the emptiness. And so now if you understand the emptiness, then you should not be making mistakes, right?
No, I have a very limited, it's a contrived understanding. I don't see it directly.
Okay,
I have very.
가르데마토 또 맞어.
So which phenomena you have not realized as being lack of true existence?
Okay, yeah. Shaky.
다른 데마도 또 맞어.
데마토 또.
I was going to say that it's the idea that like the I part is the one that causes a lot of this delusion. Like I feel like personally, when I was meditating about myself, I could see things such as myself being a part of the universe and other things that just kind of just being a part of everything and seeing other people as everyone, seeing other people the same way, that nothing is truly existing. However, is the grasping of the idea of I that causes me, that pulls me back to saying because of the ignorance that is in this world, that causes the pain of me grasping to these ideas. Then that's why that's why we that we make mistakes here in this world, even though there is the idea that we don't really truly exist, because we're in this condition right now and we are conditioned to make mistakes.
그런 사람도 소속이 나한테 있었다. 나한테 있다 그런 사람도 같이 주절는데 뭔가 공부하러 이들들은 그런 사람 나 하시더니 담블링 용어로 다 미시다도 상관과 걸어하시. 근데 삼당 있을 때는 상관들 통고도 뭐바로 통고도 이나다 소설이 안전되어라. 안전 되게 되네. 맞아 배 불알 갔었다. 뭐 통야다. 뭐 쳐야다 하더니 무슨 노래 먹고 쳐야 돼. 상관들이 안전되게 되고 그랬어.
나 이거로 나 이원 난 더 좀 가려.
So grasping at the I, why is that problem? Right? I exist, right? I exist or no? So I exist and I think I exist. Nothing problem with that, right? So it says like this is a phone.
But it's how you exist.
Yeah.
It's not whether you, I think it's the wrong question, whether you exist or not. It's how you exist. No, it's important. It's how you exist. You exist as a dependent origination. Because if you go to how do you exist or not, then you run into the risk.
Okay,
I mean, for me, eternalism or nihilism, and
Okay,
both
that's
of
good.
that
How you exist?
as a dependent arising.
Okay, then you know how to exist, right?
So you're a dependent.
You know how you exist, right?
Right?
Yeah, as a continue, causes.
And do you any mistakes? No, you know the reality. How can you get a mistake?
No, I mean, I only know it as a
Because,
contrived, intellectual.
You
but I
know
don't
exactly
live
you
it.
you is not exist inherently for the dependent cause condition. You are understand reality exactly you.
I think there's a difference. No, isn't there a difference?
No, do you
Isn't
know-
there like an intellectual, like,
This
but
is
it's,
really
but
deep.
it's like fake. It's not really
This is
real.
really
It's
deep.
not deep.
저는 네 거는 나도 너무 섬당하다. 섬당하다 뭐 이거 제 다요 말을 아주 때마다 너무 신데 간역을 해서 지금 그래도.
See, like we're just doing a discussion, like a debate, you know. It's not like trying to prove somebody wrong or somebody right like that, but it's just, you know, more you talk about it, more you think about it, and then more you will gain understanding about it. Otherwise, if you just listen one or twice, then you will not understand much. But if you talk and question answer back and forth, then you understand more.
Okay.
Can you explain more how emptiness matters? And it's like that
This
sounds
is-
funny,
this-
but it's like
This is the
you
man.
already know, like if you graduated 8th grade, that we're atoms and molecules and we're not solid, and the distance between the nucleus and the electron cloud is the same as the Earth and the sun. And it's so what? You know, that's like, I get it, the aggregates, we have different nerves. It's like, again, so what? Like, of course, like some of it's not hard to understand at all. But where do you hit where it's like, okay, in the meaning of this, well, how is that going to change you? It's like, okay, you know, yes, it's a delusion, but and
Yeah.
저랑 나한테 거기 라고 알았다. 지금 알았다.
Okay.
나 사람 가서 뭐 되는 라고 알았다. 때 가는 가래 알았어. 네는 가래 알았어.
Any answer? Anybody have answer?
Anybody have answer to
You have
what?
answer?
Statement or
Statements. You guys have some statements.
It sounds like someone's.
Okay.
Was that for me? Yeah, I have a
You want
comment.
to talk a little bit short, okay, not too long. All listen to 1 minute, okay.
I was just gonna say that it might make a difference if we realize that we're all connected, like we're connected to everything and everyone. And maybe if we thought that way, we wouldn't do the things that we do, you know, to other beings and in the world, the earth and stuff.
나도 한번 저와 하고 오면 돼.
You know how to
하고 오면 돼. 나도
So, but don't you know that we're all connected?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I understand that we are, but I don't function that way all the time, you know, because I have all these delusions, I think, and so I think of things by myself. Like I think about myself. I separate myself, you know, from and seeing them separate, and seeing all the beings separate too. I don't always see everything as connected. So I think that's probably helpful to be able to see that all the time.
Okay.
I don't know.
Any other? Yes.
Quick one, which is
You have to cook, okay.
like achieve liberation and or like for the benefit of authentic being.
Yeah, there's no peace
That's the
till any
point.
other meets, right?
This is the point. This is the but. What's wrong with right now? Okay. Any other people you not talk? Yeah. Maybe
Yeah, so I'm always grasping at true existence of myself. Even though you might say, I can say, well, of course I must be dependently arising, but still, I don't act that way. I just grasp as if truly existing. Hang on tight.
Okay. And you guys, yes.
I was gonna say that I think a lot of the time when I'm meditating and like looking at my thoughts and perceptions, I feel like sometimes when there's like, I'm perceiving something, and then I'm also perceiving like the concept of myself. It feels like it really gets in the way of trying to perceive the thing that I'm actually trying to perceive. And so it's kind of like feels like an impediment to like being clear-minded and to like I don't know, like just kind of be sane, you know, and be aware. I don't know.
그래서
그런 게 다 율 가서 율 거라 공부하다. 율 공부는 가서 요즘에 율 공부하라. 율 공부는 율 삼고라 삼당한다. 율 거 삼당 당당히 거라 요저거라 삼당 쇼도. 안 티저던다 율 고면라 되는 거 가서 같이 자료도 들어서 소소다.
그 대고 열 공부고 일체에 가르쳐 제도 때 쏜다고 그러. 일체에 열대 가르쳐 쏜도 가르쳐 쏜도.
So I mean, in some way, you know, it's good that your mind is thinking about the mind that's thinking about the object. So you're supposed to think like that. Or is it, you know, there's like, we call it like a, so it's like a self-cognition, you know, so it means like cognizing the mind itself, that's cognizing the object. So you have the mind that's trying to perceive the object, right? And then, you know, you also have the other mind perceiving the mind itself, which is perceiving the other object. And to make sure that, oh, it's perceiving that object correctly or not.
그냥 맞아 모두 미래 코로사나 코로사서 열대당 일체 코란이지 발산다고 그러. 일체디 코로도 소설 내가 가르치거든. 오나 이 열대 오늘 코로 가르쳐 사거든. 이제 선당하셔.
So for example, like when you become angry at somebody, right? And then you think about that person. Why, you know, is that person really bad like it appears to me? And then you're thinking about the object. And then like also think about the mind that is angry, right? Is this mind really good or not? Is it, you know, helpful to me or not? Is it harming me? Is it helping me? And how is it helping me? And then when you think like that, then you see, oh, the anger is not good. It is, you know, not really harming other person, but it's really harming myself, like that. Then you come to see that. So in that way, you can perceive the perception that's perceiving the object.
아마 저도 받쳐가지고 있네. 저도 름바디는 지금 보면 근데 름바디 춤도 빼고 그게도. 다 수술 내가 이제 제도 저거다. 그 춤가이 뭐 하고 그거이나 저도 남샤도요.
So like in this country, people, you guys follow the rules very properly, right? So if you say if it is illegal, if it's against the rules, right? Like say you're like say, you know, you're about to cross the red light, something like that. Yes. So the rule, you know, if you're about to break a rule, you know, and then you know it is illegal, you know, to do that, right? It is not rule. It's against the rule. And you know that, then you stop it right there. Are you able to stop it right there?
Maybe 90% you have to stop. I'm really confident that. 제도도. 난 안서 내차 제단 뜨면서도 야보요 말이는 라고요 거든요.
So just like that, you know, it says, oh, this is not good, so I shouldn't do it, right? It's illegal, or it's not correct, I should not do it. And you stop it right there, right? And in terms of the rules in this country. But what about the delusions in our mind, right? Like the attachment, anger, jealousy, miserliness, all these are all bad, right? So are you able to stop it? But we all know that it's not good, right? Just like we know that, you know, breaking the rule is not good. Just like that, we know all this is bad, right? But you know, we don't realize that much, right? I mean, we intellectually, you know, in the tribe where you can understand that, oh, it's bad. Attachment is bad, anger is bad, you know, jealousy is bad. But we're not able to, you know, stop it right there, or we're not able to see that as a really bad and then stop it right there. Just like, you know, putting a hand in the fire. Can you put your hand in the fire?
Why?
Pain. Pain.
You realize
that, right? You understand that. That's why, you know, the kid who doesn't understand that will put their hand in the fire. So yeah, so we say the attachment is bad, but it's not good. But we don't really realize that how attachment brings suffering to us.
다 대마이면 저거 자와 단전 세투도 코 자와 그런 내신 제도만 이 칼을 시키다 고 소지 얘가 막 당은 자와라네 단도요 말이스 다 티고란 잡아 시대.
So like attachment, we say attachment is bad, and we know it's not a good thing, but we're not able to stop it. Right? We're attached to something, and so we just pursue that, right? We just go after that, and we're not able, because we're not able to. I mean, we don't realize, we're not accustomed, to understand that, that attachment is bad like that. And then not only that, but then where does this attachment come from? The root of this attachment is ignorance. So it's the ignorance that you have to overcome. Even if you overcome the attachment for a little while, as long as you have ignorance, it will come back again. So therefore, we're all talking about getting rid of the root of the ignorance. That's the root of all the other delusions like attachment, anger, and so forth. So that's why you have to realize the knowledge or the understanding of the reality. That's the reason why you have to work so hard.
Okay, do you find
so what if it's like that? So this is why you have
Suffering,
do you find why we do that?
Right, so that's only pertains to emptiness of self, not phenomenal. That's right.
Everything.
Everything.
Well, I know everything's empty, but if I realize that phenomena is not empty, how does that relate to my ignorance?
너무나 힘들어.
The mind 하고서 그런 데 가서 그런 유기다 가서 네 녀몽스는 다 가서 말이버디 간데서 매우 잘 그랬어.
대학은 리머리나 하고 먹어로. 아주 일본에서 하 먹고 있는 말이 빠스. 대해서는 누구 용어 말어.
You mean how does that help to overcome your ignorance? So when you know that overcomes the ignorance. Ignorance means not knowing, right?
I know the hamburger is not real, but it tastes really good. I'm hungry. It ain't helping.
No, but I mean the knowledge, right? The ignorance means not knowing, right? When you know it, the ignorance of not knowing is gone.
I was gonna say there are different types of knowing,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not just intellectually, but like through meditation and studying, you can feel it in different ways, It's like you experience the emptiness of the world. I feel like that might be like closer to getting rid of ignorance.
Then 쉐바점만 맞지? 마리과스, 리과스, 쉐바점만 맞지? 근데 동반이 받은 거 시기가 되나? 당연히 동반이도 공공고는 냠냠마도 봐도 그러니까 동반이 거는 그런데 쉐바디 되게 더 팽이 많아서.
Yeah, that's right. 당하도 힘이 시대 가르쳐. 나도 다시 가르쳐가는 거로. 시기래 말이나. 시기 말이나.
Yeah, so I mean, depends on the level of understanding. You can say level, so what level of understanding you have. Yeah, so intellectual level, or maybe like the experiential level, So yeah, of course, in order to really overcome the delusion, you have to have the experiential level.
가르는 나도 지디지, 나도 빼잖아요. 가와도만 대신 내저도 만다시 저도 대 랍대 나도 뭐네 내저도 오만 배물라 배게 저도 그 시기 말아. 저도 랍토게로 와.
So it's like we're just repeating, It's like we're just repeating. I'm repeating from the text, and you're repeating after me, and it's like I say, say Oman Pema, you say Oman Pema, but you don't know what Oman Pema means.
Right. Yeah.
저도 저 오만 배시, 나 오만 배시라 그러.
But if you ask, do you know how to say Oman Pema? I know how to say Oman Pema.
지나가도 다대가 다시 오가 삼보탕 곰정 르바탕 아니 다테니 그런 테리빙이 쇼도 좋고 쇼로 미신 따지잖아 따기로 만도 때는 10박 3만이야 르바고 수수 삼당 거다.
And so that that intellectual knowledge, then you have to like keep on analyzing, so until like with the meditation and until you come to really experience it. And just like the scientists, they do the research of the thing, and then they look very deep into the thing in order to find out what it really is. So just like that, we're like doing research with our mind. Scientists will do with the object, and we're doing with our mind.
Yes.
Two quick questions. The first is, do you have to achieve a common binding in order to even have an inferential cognition of emptiness?
Because of the Jabak toba wala, and in order to have,
Yeah.
do you have to
Just
have?
even in inferential cognition, do you need common binding?
Don't go.
Jabak toba.
Yeah.
Jabak toba jaro.
Shadim Jolama de Togora.
Tera the shino go.
Shine Gorda. Shine Mena Rosa Merda.
Yes.
Yeah, so there you go, that's how hard it is.
Shine Mena Rosa Merda.
Just for
Yeah, no,
inferential.
nothing to go.
Nowhere to go.
Yeah, Shine Mena, Tanaka Gomja, come on, Jadu.
So right now, so we're talking about experiential level, right? So to have that, the level of the experiential understanding, you have to have calm abiding. Right now, we couldn't even meditate for 5 minutes.
나도 파리션 두개 왔대. 뺏는 거 저기 그래.
So this, the 6 perfections we're talking about, this is very important in order to reach a state of full enlightenment.
근데 대모모서다. 당 가서 뼈 가는 동 가서 신의 매반다 가서 개긴 줘도 건. 신의대 전당 가서 뭐지 뭐 제도다래 송도.
So his holiness also mentions that we are lacking in all these practices because of not having calm abiding. So we don't have calm abiding, we don't have full concentration. So we try to do it, but we can't do it really well. And once we have the calm abiding, then whatever we do, we'll be able to do it well. So we can do everything.
신의 맨날 돈이 또 매지. 돈이 또 하면 나 냐면 신의 요 말네.
If you have not realized, if you don't have calm abiding, you'll not have the realization of emptiness. And if you don't have the realization of emptiness, there's no way you can do practice of tantra.
Yes.
So that's what I was going to ask. Without calm abiding, initiation, empowerment, we basically shouldn't be focusing on anything other than calm abiding initially.
맞아. 신에면은 내가 그 신에게 요요 말씀 알았어. 디스는다 신다도 사무 유지는 신에 좀 공부했어.
되고 맞지. 신바치지 신의 공고래. 신의 가지는 공고래. 신에도 그 가르되는 공절에 샹지고 좀 샹이지 다음에.
맞아. 신에 상마신다 유지는 신에랑 좀 주고 그랬어. 신에 거면 주고 좀.
대여 좀 대양 그 말이야. 신바가 쏘는 거 처음에 신에 좀 더 말이야.
So yeah, you need to have other things as well. So calm abiding is something that you have to achieve, and for any kind of achievement, you need a merit. So you have to do other practices as well in order to have the merit, to be able to gain calm abiding.
Okay, yes. Second question.
My other question was just you said about the root ignorance, and in the Prasangika is the root ignorance the innate view of the is it the same as the innate view of the perishable collection? Is that the ignorance?
되게 직달하게 돼. 해놔도 되는 것은 벌써 묘목이 자원의 착을 했어.
나도 된다들. 대바도
벌써 따라서 다시 불러라.
이거 다또 된다들 된다들.
직달하게 봐라.
직달이 맞또 된다들.
No, so according to the second view of Madhyamika, it is the grasping at true existence.
Yeah. 그래서 나네 좀 번째 또 작은 말에 내 직다도 또 된다들.
So the grasping as the perishable view, is not considered as the main object of abandonment.
다음에 이제 타지를 봐봐서 또 많이 또 잘했어. 나오면 작은 말.
되는 거 알더라.
제가 또 많이 또 된다들.
So in order to realize emptiness, it is mainly the what obstructs you from realizing emptiness is the grasping at true existence. So, in order to be the Arya or go into the superior path, you have to realize emptiness. So, according to this is according to the person here, Madhyamika. So, according to the other lower schools, you don't need to have realization of emptiness. If you realize selflessness, you can become Arya. The grasping of true existence is the root of psycho-existence. So there is that the many other things, like they talk about the appearance and what do you call the imprints, the imprints and the appearance and so forth, but it's mainly the grasping at true existence. So for the 4 destroyers, the main object of abandonment, is grasping at true existence.
Yeah. So you're saying that the object of abandonment is the same as ignorance, because that's.
방자스는데 방제 조스도는 다 녀모도 시거라서. 녀모다 바리바 시거라서. 방자스도는.
야 마리바들이.
Yes, yes. Abandonment, is
Yeah.
we're talking about the ignorance when we say abandonment. So something that is to be abandoned, is the ignorance. Yes.
야 대창라에도 또 데모데모로 단다치데 단도 빠지 좋은데 봐야 니들 다 좀 맞다 보는데 상제버려 잘 되고 말해.
뭐. 그도 방도.
네. that's 방도로.
덴지 방도.
that's 방도. that's 방도 상제로.
말. 자주로로 대바즈 방도.
제가
대바즈 만들면 또 갔더니 또요.
동나테
나 방스나 다 지금
방고 맞다.
방도 말되는 다
이제 니들 다 준비. 단기불라 니들 다 준비기 갈방을.
덴지 방.
that's 방도 상제로.
덴지가 버셔도 막 봤어. 버셔 방.
알아도 되는 야. 어떻게 해야 돼? 야, 빠져 나대려.
So yeah, so even for the four distortions of the hearers and soul others, you have to abandon the grasping at the true existence.
So my question was
Yeah.
in the Lamrim Chemmo, it talks about it in chapter 9 on the stages of entry into reality. It says, then understanding that you will not overcome it unless you overcome its cause, you search its roots. They're talking about cyclic existence. You search its roots, considering what might be the root of cyclic existence. And then you will thereby become certain from the depths of your heart that the reifying view of the perishing aggregate or ignorance acts as the root of cyclic existence. So is the ignorance that we're talking about though, that's not that?
I know.
너 지다 생겼지. 되게 되는데 남는 추구는 어디 되네. 저랑게 된다는 다 제대로 저왔는 때는 거기 싸워야 되는데 지다 생겨 뭐 되는 줄 또 그랬어.
다시 대창라에 때래. 다시 때래.
지다서는 전 제가 된지 찍어 저거 저거 다른.
지금 맞다. 된지 다 렌제서야 돼.
저로 또. 지금 직속이 따라 딱 맞으면 저 말해.
식탁에 다시 간지.
홍보 나다 지금 저대로.
간지 당서래.
홍보 지금 저대로 그래 콜라 그
자가 담에 청어들이.
그래.
가다 담에 청어를 떴다. 어쨌든 그 데이터 봐. 식탁 렌제. laptop. 이래들.
가서 담에 청.
가다 담에 청어.
So yeah, so I mean, it's also talking about the subtle steps of the person.
Yeah, I'm confused. I keep confusing
대창라에 직다들이 가다 그 담에 청어. 뭐왜 싸워? 다니블라.
Yeah, so that's the subtle selflessness of person, right? Subtle selflessness of person, and so that's that's considered as the root of selflessness. So you're right about that. Yeah.
But I was confusing it with something else though. So never mind. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we can be more clear. Okay. Any other people have any question? Okay. Hold on. Okay, Jackie.
Just a quick clarification. Can you explain again the difference between objective object of negation and subjective object of negation?
Demba trabadla yilchi gajas. They demba traban zemben shibadla yilchi gajas.
So the truly existing, is the objective object of negation, and grasping as existing truly, is the object, subjective object of negation.
Peshan they rangun trabala. They rangun trabadla. Tuingun trabadla yilchi gajas.
So the ball, like this, the singing ball, existing truly, is the objective object of negation. So then there's a mind which thinks that it is existing truly, and so that is the subjective object of negation. So therefore, this the object, existing truly doesn't exist. And because it doesn't exist, therefore the mind that's grasping it as existing truly is also mistaken mind. And that's called the ignorance. That obscures everything. So because that's the one that's obscuring everything. So when you clear that, then all the obscuration will be gone.
Okay, Rika.
regarding the object of negation, I answered it because on the Lamrim Chemno in chapter 17, the actual object to be negated. And in the very beginning of the chapter, they talk about object of negation by path and object of negation by reason. And the past, they spoke about two obscuration. And I'm not understanding the text correctly, but they talk about the object of negation by path as the two obscuration. I'm wondering that's relating to the grasping of truly existence. Like if you can, they spoke about this two obscuration. Maitreya talks about the obscuration as the object of negation by the path. So I was wondering about it.
Lamji gaja, that they would them
most of the divisional Lamgi Gajala didn't diminish ourselves.
I think I should have Tanya Ramada to Shida Tanya
Lamgi
Ramada.
Gaja, the Gaja, the Lamata,
None of the Mari.
Gaja was on the
Another Mari.
So yeah, the object of negation, that we're talking about here, to identify the object of negation and realizing emptiness, I think is different from that kind of object of negation where it talks of the path object of negation.
So path is the obscuration, and then the by reason is the one with the grasping, and then also truly existence. Is that?
The Lamgi Gaja and then Yunsegi Gaja. Yunsegi Gaja did the number was in the rest. Like this. And Lamgi Gaja then the divinity shows.
The matter of the they call Shatan Dangati Pesha Tomalo, Chegman, the Shibajo, Kanja Lamji Gaja, then Dumilana, Kanja Dematova, Kanta Dadro, Tandang Pacha the Shaka, Tango than the Gaja Music, the Shah, some so on. Koyata Tanya Jatamata, Shu Jatamana language.
So maybe, it's I don't remember exactly clearly, but I think this is very similar when we talk about the object of negation by path. It's referring to the two obscurations, and those are again the obscuration into knowledge and obscuration, the deluded obscuration, which is referring to the grasping at true existence itself, and then the imprints, the predisposition left by the grasping at true existence, is the object, obscuration to knowledge, and so those two can be referred as also object of negation. Yes.
Usually they're called abandonments, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, usually they're called abandonments, yeah. So the way they use the terms they use for different context of the text has a different way of explaining it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that time to finish. Not next week your homework. Okay. Not you Kajan Kajan.
So it says, well, identify the object of negation, right? Why do we have to identify the object of negation? So explain the reason. Why do we have to identify the object of negation?
That's what you have to attack in your meditation.
That's your
Again, okay. Tab Gaja Dingola, Patuajang Sudu Jagus. The battle is your mother's.
So who is debating with who about the object of negation? So who is debating with who about object of negation?
Is that the question?
Is that what the
Yes.
So who is debating with who?
And about the object of negation.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
So who is like there's two.
But Trumna, I mean, Nipatan the Yoris.
The
Matamna, Nipatan the Yosus.
So in other words, who is saying it exists truly and who is saying it doesn't exist truly?
What line?
Yeah, who is saying it exists truly? Who says it exists truly?
Oh,
Jennifer said everything exists in truly. If not, we cannot do any functions.
So somebody says it, right? You know who says it? Somebody says it, right?
So you're talking about.
So in other words.
Schools?
For other schools or
Other school, okay.
You have to find out who says it.
Who is it? Yeah, okay.
Who's saying it exists
Could
truly?
explain that?
Who's saying
Yeah,
it does not?
yeah.
Somebody says, right? Somebody says things exist truly, right?
Yeah.
So who says it?
Yeah, okay.
And who says somebody says it doesn't exist truly? So who says it? And not only that, but then you have to say why the one who says it exists truly, why he or she is saying that it exists truly, and the one who says it doesn't exist truly, why is it saying it doesn't exist truly?
Okay, that's good. Okay, these answers you can find the Lamrim Chemo. Because we go to text, the short one here, very short, but it makes you guys a little bit study Lamrim Chemo. The Jennifer and more different things, recaps of different things. I didn't read the Lamrim Chemo like that. But you guys also more information. Okay, Jackie, now you want to say something? No. Okay.
Can I clarify that second question again? When you say who says it exists, do you mean who says the self exists truly, or
the true existence.
Who asserts true existence?
Well,
or sorry, no.
Yeah,
so who is debating, or who is debating with who, about the true existence.
Okay.
So to be detailed, like who says things exist truly and who says things do not exist truly.
Okay.
So whoever says things exist truly, why do they say the things exist truly? And whoever says things do not exist truly, why do they say things do not exist truly?
But there are so many, but I need to like just some main things. In order to find that, you read the Lamrim, you will find the answers, all that. Okay. Therefore, today we discussion that we didn't go much text. We need to really think. This is analytic meditation. Okay, you can think every day. Okay, alhamdulillah, what matter, what purpose, what's wrong, how. Meditation. This analytic meditation. It's very good. Okay. Okay, now we stop.
Thank you, Geshe.
Please turn to page 39 of the Kurukulla Thanksgiving model offering. Aji perni jupshing metotra deva meche vengen adi sange jindu mekte uwanti rokun mam dajing la shobo Jitsun mame kute rapinching ramyo trime chochu ye baba losan tempe grime sasungi roe wancha tadunek yoji Nilam guru ratna mandalaka Kayani. From my two collections of vast space that I have amassed for working with ever in this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds wisdom lies blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach the state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives righteously. May I find the best of complete created paths and teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing. Skillfully drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time, with my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread of decline. May I reveal this treasure of happiness and aim. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted boundless peace. The Buddha's needs be nourished for a long time. By even this graded course to enlightenment, completed through the wondrous virtuous conduct of Buddhists and their children. Never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path raised by happiness. Whenever someone makes an act in accordance with the tenfold ahead of virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may hopes of prosperity spread everywhere. In that snow mountain encircled by so very death and joy, Tenzin Gyatso Chen Ezi, remain in life till samsara zen. Savior of the Snow-Led teachings and transmigratory beings, who extensively clarifies the path that unifies emptiness and compassion, to the lotus in the hand, Lord Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech you, may all your holy wishes be fulfilled. Page 49, the short long life prayer for Lamrim Rinpoche. You who uphold the subduers for a way, service the bountiful bear it all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading unto the victorious doctrine, masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Page 57, prayer of dedication. Through this virtue may I swiftly and in Guru Buddha's name place each and every sentient being without exception in that state. Gracious Supreme Bodhi mind, may it wherever and wherefore never decline, but increase forever. Page 75, Nate Selah. Nate Selah, Chen Bresi, Remain Pei Wan Ho Jam Yan. God Chen Ke Pei Su Gen Song Pa Lo Salam Gai Pei God La So
Sure, thank you, Dr. A couple of quick announcements. On Friday at 7, we have Lama Chopa Guru Puja. And also check the calendar. There's an event scheduled for March 26th, which will be an all-day teaching and instructions by Geshe-la on the sadhana for the inseparability of Avalokiteshvara and spiritual masters. So you want to say more about that?
I don't have anything on the top of my head.
Okay. But check the calendar for all the information you need on that.
It's a wonderful practice.
Basically, we recite Oman Pema all day. Okay? Okay, thank you everyone here. People can see, not see, we hail, I can see, I was, okay, have a good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. We make more meditation, some series. Hi Ed, hi Karen. Oh, now everyone can see it.